Welcome back to Bizarre Ones, the podcast where we dive deep into the strange, the unexplained, and the downright unsettling. I'm your host, and today we're tackling something that might make you question your own memories, your reality, and maybe even the nature of the universe itself. Really quick, before we jump into the episode, we've decided to start something new from here on out in our podcast. In each episode, either I, Tonya, Kitsune, or Diamond Ash give you the information about the topic. Then near the end of the episode, we will have a panel discussion. This will help alleviate any alienation the whole alternating host might cause. Now for the episode. Have you ever been absolutely certain about something from your past, only to discover that your memory doesn't match reality? Not just forgetting details, but remembering things that apparently never happened. Well, you're not alone. In today's episode, we're exploring the Mandela Effect. And trust me, this rabbit hole goes deeper than you might think. So grab a hold of your red pill and let's see how far this rabbit hole goes. So let's start with the basics. The Mandela Effect gets its name from a curious incident involving Nelson Mandela, the South African anti-apartheid revolutionary and political leader. In 2010, a paranormal researcher named Fiona Broom was at a conference when she started talking with others about Mandela's death. She clearly remembered news coverage of his funeral in the 1980s while he was still in prison. She remembered the widow's speech, the riots, all of it. But here's the thing. Nelson Mandela didn't die in the 1980s. He was released from a prison in 1990, became president of South Africa, and lived until 2013. Yet Fiona Broom discovered she wasn't alone in her false memory. Dozens of other people at that conference remembered the exact same thing. Same time period, same details, same news coverage that never existed. Broom coined the term Mandela Effect to describe the phenomenon of shared false memories. And once she started looking, boy, she found it everywhere. Now, you might be thinking, people just have bad memories. What's paranormal about that? And sure, memory is notoriously unreliable. But the Mandela Effect isn't about individual confusion. It's about large groups of people remembering the same incorrect details with absolute certainty. We're talking thousands, sometimes millions of people all sharing identical false memories. Let me give you some examples that might make your skin crawl. The Berenstain Bears. You know, those books about the family of bears. How do you spell it? If you said Berenstein, like Berenstain, you're wrong. It's actually spelled Berenstein, like stain, Berenstain, with an A. Always has been. But countless people remember the Stein spelling. They remember seeing it on their childhood books, on the TV show, everywhere. Or how about this? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Classic line from Snow White, right? Except the actual line is magic mirror on the wall, not mirror, mirror, magic mirror. Here's another one, the Monopoly Man. Picture him in your mind, right? I want you to imagine the Monopoly Man and have a clear image of him in your mind. Does he have a monocle? A lot of people remember him wearing one, but he never has. Not in any version of the game, ever. So, yeah, you're like, he has a monocle. These aren't obscure details. We're talking about cultural touchstones that millions of people interacted with, and yet large groups share the same wrong memories. So what's going on? The conventional explanation is simple psychology, false memories, confabulation, the brain filling in gaps with plausible details. Maybe we conflated the Monopoly Man with Mr. Peanut, who does wear a monocle. Maybe our brains autocorrected Berenstain to the more common spelling Stein. But you didn't tune into the Bizarre Ones for conventional explanations, did you? Let's talk about theories that keep people up night. The explanations that suggest something far stranger is happening to our reality. So, theory number one. CERN in a fractured timeline. This is probably the most popular paranormal explanation for the Mandela Effect. And it centers on CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Switzerland, specifically the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, the world's most powerful particle accelerator. This thing is a massive ring, 17 miles in circumference, buried 300 feet underground. It accelerates particles to nearly the speed of light and smashes them together, allowing scientists to study the fundamental building blocks of reality. In 2012, they discovered the Higgs boson particle, or the so-called God particle. But some people believe CERN's experiments have done something far more dramatic. They've torn holes in the fabric of reality itself. So you're like, Kai, how exactly does this theory go? Well, the theory goes like this. Every time CERN fires up the LHC, it creates miniature black holes or somewhat disturbs the quantum field. These disturbances don't destroy our reality, but they merge it with parallel timelines. We're experiencing quantum interference between different versions of Earth. Proponents point to the timing. Many people claim that they first noticed Mandela Effect becoming widespread around 2008 to 2012. Now, this interesting coincides with the LHC's activation and major experiments. The discovery of the Higgs boson was in 2012. That's when reality started glitching, they say. In this scenario, you're not misremembering, you're remembering correctly, but from a different timeline. You're from a universe where it was Berenstain Bears, and the Monopoly Man did have a monocle, but CERN's experiments have merged your timeline with this one, and now you're stuck in a reality that doesn't match your memories. Now, some believers in this theory have taken it even further. They've analyzed CERN's logo, which features the number 666, 3 sixes, hidden in its design, if you look at it a certain way. They point to the statue of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, that stands outside CERN's headquarters. Is it this all symbolic? Are the scientists at CERN practicing some form of quantum mysticism? CERN officials have understandably denied any reality-altering effects from their work. They've stated that the energies they're dealing with, while impressive by human standards, are minuscule compared to cosmic rays that hit Earth constantly. If LHC could break reality, cosmic rays would have done it eons ago. But this hasn't stopped the theories. Because if you're in a merged timeline, the CERN of this timeline would have no idea what the CERN of your original timeline did. Right? So what are the other possible theories? Well, theory number 2, we're living in a simulation. I'm pretty sure you've heard this theory before. And I mean, this kind of theory of living in a simulation began, around 1999 after hit movies like The Matrix. Everybody's like, hey, what if we're living in a simulation? Here's where things get really existential. What if our reality is a computer simulation, like The Matrix? What if the Mandela Effect is evidence of updates, patches, or glitches in the simulation? This isn't just conspiracy theory territory anymore. Serious philosophers, physicists, and including the late Stephen Hawking have suggested that the simulation hypothesis is worth considering. The basic idea is that it's possible to create a perfect simulation of reality, and if advanced civilizations are likely to create such simulations, then statistically, we're more likely to be living in a simulation than in base reality. In this framework, the Mandela Effect makes perfect sense. The programmers running our simulation occasionally need to make changes. They optimize the code, fix bugs, and update assets. When they change something in the past of the simulation, most of its simulated inhabitants' memories get updated automatically. But sometimes there are errors. Sometimes the memory update doesn't take for everyone. Some people remember the old version. Think about it. Any video game, like Sims, or any game you can think of, right? If developers patch something that's been in the game since launch, some players might remember the old version while new players only know the updated version. What if that's what's happening to us? The simulation theory also explains why Mandela effects often involve pop culture, trivial pop culture details rather than major historical events. A simulation programmer might change the spelling of a children's book series or cartoon character's appearance because it's a small asset swap. They're less likely to overhaul major historical events because that would require rewriting too much code, affecting too many cause and effect chains. Now, theory number 3. is parallel universe bleed through. Forget CERN causing the problem, right? What if parallel universes are naturally merging on their own? Quantum physics tell us that all possible outcomes of any event exist in superposition until observed. The many worlds interpretation suggests that every quantum decision creates a branching universe. In one universe, you took the left path. In another, you took the right. Both universes are equally real, just separate. But what if the barriers between these universes aren't as solid as we think? What if consciousness can somehow pick up signals from our parallel selves? In this theory, when you remember Bernstein bears, you're not misremembering. You're remembering your life in a parallel universe where it was spelled that way. Your consciousness has somehow retained memories from a timeline you used to inhabit, or receiving bleed through from a parallel universe version of yourself. Some researchers have suggested that parallel universes might be getting closer together, perhaps as some part of cosmic cycle that we don't understand. As they converge, the walls between them become more porous. Memories leak through. Small details flip-flop. Eventually, the universes might fully merge, or we might slip completely from one to another without even realizing it. So far, our theories have dealt with parallel universes and stuff like that, right? Well, theory number 4 is time travelers changing the past. So what if time travel is possible? And people from the future are constantly tweaking the past to prevent disasters or optimize outcomes for their current present, which is our, our past, or, And the Mandela Effect could be the residue of these changes, right? Here's the scenario. In the original timeline, it was Bernstein bears with an E, but a time traveler from the future went back and changed it to Berenstain with an A for some reason we can't comprehend, right? We don't know why, but they changed it for some reason because the butterfly effect, which is, a butterfly's flap of its wing can cause a typhoon halfway across the world. So maybe in the original timeline, something about these books led to an unforeseen catastrophe. Or maybe it's part of a much larger pattern of changes. When you change the past, you change history. Most people's memories update to match the new timeline automatically, but some people are resistant to the change. They retain memories from the original timeline. They remember how things used to be. This theory suggests that reality is constantly being edited, and we're living in maybe the 100th or 1,000th or millionth iteration of our timeline. Who knows? Each time travelers makes changes. They create small discrepancies. The Mandela Effect is proof that time travel exists, and that our reality is far more fluid than any of us realize. Now, here's another interesting theory. This is theory number 5. Yeah, we got a lot of theories of how this Mandela Effect, could be explained. Theory number 5 is consciousness creates reality and reality is changing, such as when Buddha said thoughts become reality, or the New Age philosophy known as the law of attraction. This is perhaps the most philosophical of all the theories. What if consciousness doesn't just observe reality, but actively creates it? And what if the collective consciousness is rewriting history in real time? In quantum physics, the observer effect shows that the act of observation affects the outcome of quantum events. Some interpretations suggest that conscience collapses quantum superposition into definitive states. If that's true at the quantum level, what if it's true at larger scales? Imagine that reality is constantly in flux, and only our collective observation and agreement that solidifies it. We're constantly creating the past, present, and future through our consciousness, but we're not perfectly synchronized, right? Sometimes groups of people stabilize different versions of the same event. When millions of people remember Berenstain, they're not wrong. They collapse that particular quantum possibility into their experienced reality. But millions of others collapse Berenstain instead. Now we're living in an overlapping reality where both groups insist their version is correct, because for their experience of reality, it was and is. This theory suggests that reality is far more democratic and subjective than we've ever imagined. The past isn't fixed. It's being voted on, in a sense, by conscious observation. And we're only noticing that the Mandela Effect now because we're now more connected than ever. The internet allows us to compare notes and realize that our realities don't quite match. Theory number 6, the 1988 anomaly. This one is a bit more obscure, but it's gained traction in online communities such as Reddit, YouTube, 4chan, all these, other various online communities. The 1988 anomaly theory suggests that something occurred in 1988. What it is, we don't know. A cosmic event, an experiment gone wrong, or even a shift in the fabric of our reality. Proponents point to technological leaps, strange weather patterns, and changes in pop culture that seem to diverge from expected history. Could the 1988 anomaly be that moment that we splintered from the original timeline? Perhaps in the future we will do an episode about the 1988 anomaly, since I really find that entire theory fascinating all on its own. So I think perhaps we'll do a in-depth, bizarre ones podcast episodes about that theory and, all on its own. Now, I want to share something that might make you uncomfortable. There are people who claim to remember much bigger changes than children's books and cartoon characters. Some people remember different geography. Now, you remember we talked about different geography before. I have, Tonya has, Dom and Ash has in other episodes. We talked about the man from Torrid. We talked about the one episode recently where it was the, I'm trying to remember what it was. I am so sorry. Peter Bergman. We talked about that and how it could be possibly connected to, an alternate reality. So like Torrid, Anyway, so some people remember different geography. They insist that New Zealand used to be in a different position relative to Australia. That South America was further west, and that there used to be a large landmass in the Arctic. Others remember different deaths of celebrities, and not just Nelson Mandela. Some people have vivid memories of certain actors, musicians, or public figures dying years before they actually did, or in some cases dying when they're still alive. And then there are people who remember major historical events differently. Different outcomes to different wars, different presidents, different disasters. Are these people delusional? Or have they slipped through from timelines so different from ours that the changes are massive? Think about it. Now, here's what makes the Mandela Effect so unsettling. It's unfalsifiable. Or, I'm not sure if that's the word I'm looking for. There's no way to prove whether you're misremembering or whether reality has changed. So, you can't disprove, or prove it. Because if reality changed, all the evidence would change with it. Photographs, documents, videos, everything would affect the new reality. Your memory is the only evidence you have. And memory is notoriously unreliable. I think Diamond Ash mentioned this before in another episode, or maybe it was Tonya, Kitsune. I'd have to go back and look. That's what makes this phenomenon perfect territory for paranormal investigation. We can't prove any of these theories are true, but we also can't prove they're false. So let me give you a few examples to chew on. Because once you start noticing Mandela effects, you're going to see them everywhere, like the number 23. Life is like a box of chocolates. That's what Forrest Gump says, right? Except he actually says life was a box of chocolates. Past tense. C-3PO from Star Wars. Picture him, right? Picture how he looks. Is he entirely gold? Because he's not. He always had one silver leg. Check it. Go check the original films or Google the pictures. Always check the original films. The Thinker, the famous sculpture by Rodin, is his fist against his forehead or under his chin. Many people remember forehead. It's actually his chin, with his hand in a more relaxed position. Is the line, Luke, I am your father, the iconic line from The Empire Strikes Back, right? Vader never says, Luke. The actual line is, no, I'm your father. So what do we make of this? Are these all just examples of poor memory and cultural misquotes? Or is something strange happening? I don't have the answer. Nobody does. But I can tell you this. The Mandela Effect forces us to confront some deeply unsettling questions about the nature of reality. If our memories can't be trusted, what can? If reality can change and we never know it, How do we know it hasn't changed 1,000 times already? If we're living in a simulation or a merging multiverse or a timeline that has been ended by time travelers, what does that mean for free will, for identity, for everything we think we know? Some people find the Mandela Effect terrifying. Others find it liberating. If reality is that malleable, then that subjective, then maybe we have more power to shape than we've imagined. If whether you believe in parallel universes, simulation theory, certain experiments gone wrong, or just the fallibility of human memory, the Mandela Effect serves as a reminder. Reality might not be as solid as we think it is. So for this next part of the podcast, this is what I was talking about at the beginning. We're going to have a panel discussion between me and Tonya Kitsune and Diamond Ash. So I brought in Tonya Kitsune and Diamond Ash to have a real conversation about this phenomenon. We're going to share our personal experiences, talk about specific Mandela effects we've encountered, and try to make sense of what's happening. So like I said, joining me are Tonya and Diamond. Tonya and Diamond, thanks for being here.
Thanks. The topic has been consuming me for months now since we decided we were going to do an episode about this, so I've been, very fascinated by the topic at hand.
Like Tonya said, the whole thing is fascinating. Seriously, once you start noticing these things, you can't stop noticing these things. You know what I mean?
Actually, I do. So let's dive in. I want to start with the classic example that everyone talks about, the Berenstain Bears. These children books about the family bears. Tonya, do you remember how it was being spelled?
Berenstain? With an A-I-N? I'm absolutely certain because I remember being a kid and thinking it was a weird spelling. Why would it be Stain instead of Stein? It bothered me.
Interesting. Diamond.
Okay, so this is where it gets weird. I remember it as Berenstain. Berenstein with an E-I, like Einstein or like Frankenstein. That's how it was spelled on all my books as a kid.
Okay, so here's the kicker. I remember it completely different than both of you. I remember it being spelled Ensteeen, Berenstain Bears, with a B-A-R at the beginning and a double E in the middle.
Wait, what? With a B-A-R, like a bar?
Yes, I specifically remember thinking it was a strange name, Berenstain. I can picture it on the book spines.
That's 3 different spellings between the 3 of us.
And apparently the official current spelling is Berenstain with an I, which only one of us remembers.
Exactly. So either 2 of us have false memories or something much stranger is going on. Because I don't just vaguely remember my spelling. I can visualize it. I can see these books on my shelf.
Same. I can picture my own mom reading them to me at bedtime. And I remember looking at the cover, seeing Berenstain.
And see, that's what's so disturbing about the Mandela Effect. It's not like we've just misremembered something. We have vivid, detailed memories, and they can't all be right.
Unless they are all right. Unless we're from different timelines that have somehow merged.
Okay, let's talk about another one. Fruit of the Loom logo, the underwear company. Do you remember there being a cornucopia in the logo?
Oh, absolutely. The cornucopia was definitely there. The fruit was spilling out of it, right? Brown wicker, cornucopia, and all the fruit tumbling out.
Yes, I have such clear memory of that cornucopia. I actually learned what a cornucopia was because of that logo.
Same here. In elementary school, we were learning about Thanksgiving, and the teacher asked if anyone knew what a cornucopia was, and I raised my hand and said, oh, it's that brown basket thing on the underwear. The class laughed, but I was right. Or I thought I was right.
And see, the thing is about what she was talking about is apparently there was never a cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo in any version. It's always been just fruit. No basket, nor cornucopia.
I looked this up extensively when I was writing parts of the episode that aren't our panel, right? I was looking up. In fact, that's actually what the thumbnail's going to be for this episode of the podcast. There are no trademark filings, no old advertisements, no photographs of the logo with the cornucopia, and yet thousands of people remember it.
How do thousands of people all have the same false memory of something so specific? A cornucopia isn't a common thing. It's not like we're confusing it with some other logo.
Unless we actually are. Maybe there was another brand that had a cornucopia and we're conflating the two. You know?
I've searched. I can't find any major brand with cornucopia in their logo that people might be confusing. There is no other brand at all. During my research for this episode, I did find a claim that Fruit of the Loom claims that it was some knockoff brand, you know? Like it was some kind of knockoff brand that you'd buy at a discount market.
Okay, though I heard that claim, I looked everywhere and couldn't find any resemblance that could have confused any of us. So what's the explanation? We all imagined the same thing? Like some kind of mass delusion or mass hysteria? I mean, because it just seems a little weird that we all imagined it that way. I mean, I've heard of mass hysteria or mass delusion, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
And you got a point there, Diamond Ash, is that I've heard of mass delusion or mass hysteria. Like there was this one example where there was this school and they all thought they smelled gas and they all could smell it and they all started getting sick, and then they left the school. You know, the school was evacuated and there was no gas leak found. But this is not that kind of same particular thing. But let's move on to another one that bothers me, the Monopoly Man. How do you remember him?
Well, how I remember him, Kai, is I remember him with a monocle, right? He had a top hat, mustache, and monocle. That's the Monopoly Man.
Wait. He doesn't have a monocle?
Apparently not. Never has.
I remember the monocle too, so vividly. But when you look at the actual Monopoly Man, there's no monocle. Never has been.
That's, I can picture so clearly the monocle, the little chain attached to it.
Apparently he doesn't have that. Like, you know, we all remember it, but okay, here's another one that but this one I can kind of explain. Mr. Peanut has a monocle. Maybe we're combining the Monopoly Man and Mr. Peanut in our memories, and so this one could actually be explained that way. So maybe it's not, Mandela Effect.
That's the logical explanation, but here's my problem with that. I can visualize both characters separately. I remember the Monopoly Man with his monocle, and I remember Mr. Peanut with his. They're distinct memories. Like, I remember the commercials for both.
Yeah, they're completely different characters, different body types, different clothing, different everything. Why would we confuse them?
Get what you're saying? Like, it was just an explanation that I had heard before. I really don't know. But the alternative is that reality changed and somehow removed the Monopoly Man's monocle from every version of Monopoly game ever printed. That seems, unlikely.
Does it, though? I mean, how many times have you pulled out an old Monopoly board from your childhood actually checked?
Fair point. I mean, perhaps there's some secret government agency that seized all the copies of the Monopoly that have it that way we remembered. Who knows? Everyone listening to this episode of the podcast, perhaps let us know.
Oh, can I bring one up that's really bothering me? The movie Shazam.
Oh god, yes. The Sinbad Genie movie.
Wait, what Sinbad Genie movie? I didn't know there was a Sinbad Genie movie.
Exactly. That's the thing. There is no Sinbad Genie movie. But I remember watching it as a little girl. It was called Shazam. Sinbad was a genie, and there were these kids, and he was helping them with something. I remember the VHS cover. Purple and gold. Sinbad's face. He had the genie vest and everything.
I remember this too. My cousin Dusty, may he rest in peace, had it on VHS. We watched it multiple times.
You sure you're not thinking of Kazam with Shaquille O'Neal? That's the Genie movie from the 90s, the one I think of.
No, Kazam is a completely different movie. This one exists. I remember that one too. But Shazam with Sinbad was different. Different plot, different tone, different everything.
There are thousands of people online who remember Shazam. They remember specific scenes, quotes, plot points, but there's no record of it existing.
What will really bake your noodle is Sinbad himself has even said it doesn't exist and he's never played a genie.
Oh, so, like what? An entire movie just vanished from reality. Like, because you remember it and Kai remembers it. And I just texted my cousin and he remembers it as well. So did this movie just vanish?
Or it never existed in this reality, but it existed in the reality that Diamond Ash and I and apparently your cousin came from.
This is making my head hurt.
Okay, well, here's going to really mess with you. Let's talk about geography ones. These ones really freak me out.
Oh, I have a good one. Where is New Zealand?
New Zealand, southeast of Australia.
No, northeast of Australia.
Ha! That's interesting. I remember it being directly east of Australia, like almost due east.
Wait, so we all remember it in different positions.
Apparently, it's northeast of Australia, but I have clear memories of looking at maps in school and seeing it to the east.
I could have sworn it was much more north, like much more north than it apparently it is, looking at the map on my phone right now.
That's really interesting. I could have sworn that it was 2 islands southeast of Australia, more south than east.
And this is a whole country we're talking about, not a small detail. The location of an entire nation.
There are people who remember South America being further west than it is now, or Australia being further south. The continents themselves seem to have moved for some people.
Just wow. I mean, okay, but that one I can understand. Most people don't look at maps that carefully. We have a general sense of where things are, but the exact positions, we probably just learn them never really learned them accurately in the first place. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but these people aren't just vaguely remembering. They're talking about studying maps in school, doing geography projects, having very specific memories of locations that don't match current maps, which could be a possibility that they are from another reality, perhaps a reality where, Torrid is.
Torrid?
Oh, like the man from Torrid.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that one. I think I talked about it as well. I mean, I didn't do an episode about it.
Actually, it was the first episode of this very podcast. Tonya was in the episode with me, actually. I can't recall if you had started doing episodes with us.
If I did, I don't recall.
Yeah, well, anyone, including you, should go back and give the episode a listen. And for those listening to the podcast, perhaps if you haven't, like I said, go give it a listen. I think you'll find the episode very interesting.
Thinking of it, perhaps Diamond was in that episode, just not the Diamond that's with us now.
Okay, so here's something. Can we talk about anatomy? Because this one disturbs me.
No. What now? Like, what is it that disturbs you?
The human heart. Where is it located in your chest?
Left side. Everyone knows that.
Same, left side of the chest. Like, that's where it's at.
Exactly. But apparently it's on the left side. It's in the center of your heart. It's not on the left side. It's in the center of your heart, just slightly tilted left.
No. What? No. It's definitely on the left. That's why I remember it, is it's definitely on the left.
That's why people clutch the left side of their chest when they're having a heart attack, right? Like, because it's on the left side.
That's what I thought. But if you look at the actual autonomy diagrams, the heart is much more central than we remember. It's way over the left side, like we picture, it's not way over on the left side like we've originally pictured it.
Like, totally mind-blowing. Like, that's just wow. I've seen those diagrams, though. The heart is on the left. Like, that's where I always remember it. Like, I'm gonna have to go look it up now.
Go look it up, like, right now. Seriously, like, grab your phone and look it up. Or anybody that's, like, listening to this podcast, right now, go. If you were like, hey, I thought it was on the left as well, go right now on your phone or on your computer, wherever you're listening, or anything that you have where you can look it up and go look right now. It's not on the left side like you thought. And that's another example of Mandela Effect, is if you remember it being on the left side, that's not where that is. It's kind of pretty close to the left, but it's actually in the center.
Okay, I'm looking, and right now I Googled it, and what the hell? It's in the middle, like exactly like you said.
This is one of those Mandela effects that really gets to me because it's our own bodies. How can we misremember the location of our own hearts? Like, that's part of us.
And it's not just the heart. Like, some people remember the kidneys being in different positions, the liver being larger or smaller, human ribs going all the way up and down to protect the lower organs instead of stopping higher up.
Okay, but like, medical knowledge has improved over time. Maybe we were just taught wrong as kids, right? That could have been like a possible explanation, is that we were taught wrong things. Like, we were taught Christopher Columbus discovered America, but that's not,
Okay, but we're talking about medical knowledge improving. We're talking about the physical we're not talking about the medical knowledge improving. We're talking about the physical location of organs changing. And if we look at the old anatomy textbooks, they show the heart in the center too. It's not like the heart moved and we updated the books. The books apparently always showed it in the center. We just remember it differently.
Here's the one that really messed me up. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
From Snow White, right? Like, that's what it's from.
What does the evil queen actually say, though? Like, what does she actually say? Like, what is the phrase that she said?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
That's what I remember too.
It's actually magic mirror on the wall.
Wait, is it really? No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Go watch the movie. It's Magic Mirror.
I've watched that movie dozens of times. I grew up on that movie. It's Mirror, Mirror.
I know. That's what makes this so disturbing. We all remember Mirror, Mirror because it's iconic. It's been quoted in countless other movies and TV shows. But in the actual Disney film, it's Magic Mirror.
You know what? I just looked it up. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why would everyone quote it wrong? Why would it become the cultural touchstone if it's not the actual line? But yeah, I looked it up and that's what it says. What you said, but like, why would it be something else?
Unless it was the actual line in our original timeline, like, how we remember it. Maybe in the original timeline or our universe, it was Mirror, Mirror. And in this universe, it's Magic Mirror.
So you guys are sharing, ones that you were thinking about. All right, I'll share one that's been bothering me. The Thinker statue by Rodin. I think that's his name, the guy that did it. I don't know.
The guy sitting down, right?
Where is his hand?
On his forehead. He's got his fist against his forehead thinking.
That's what I remember too. Fist on forehead. But if you look at the actual statue, his hand is under his chin, kind of resting there, more relaxed.
Really? I totally picture fist on forehead.
Same. Like, the whole iconic pose is the fist pressed against the forehead.
But it's not. It's never been that way. His hand is relaxed under his chin, and his posture is more slouched than we remember.
How do we remember the wrong pose?
Because it wasn't wrong. Not in the timeline we came from.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I'm going to bring up something that might sound crazy, but I've been experiencing something related to this, and I need to talk about it.
Please, that's like why we're here. That's why, for the whole podcast is to discuss these things. So go right ahead.
For the past few months, I've been having these moments where reality just feels wrong. Like, I'll be in a familiar place, my, apartment or my office, and suddenly something is slightly different. A picture is in a different spot. A book I've never owned is on my shelf. And when I ask people about it, they're like, it's always been that way. It's always been there. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God, yes. I thought I was losing my mind. I'll notice like small changes and everyone acts like I'm crazy and that I'm losing my mind.
This is what I'm talking about. Like the other day, I swear to you, my coffee mug that I always drink out of was blue. I've had this mug for 3 years. Blue with a white logo. I used it that morning. I went to work, came home, and the mug is red. Same shape, same logo, but red instead of blue.
What did you do?
I asked Vixen. She looked at me like I was insane and said, that mug, honey, has always been red. You've had that red mug since you moved in with Kai and I. But I know it was blue.
I remembered it the same way if it's the mug I'm thinking of, but like, who knows?
This is happening to me with, my clothes. I'll be remember buying something in one color, and when I go to my closet and I go to wear it, it's a different color. Or I'll find clothes in my closet I don't remember buying at all.
That is truly fascinating. Are you sure that you're just not forgetting and you had bought like the clothes and you just didn't remember or something?
In all honesty, that's what I thought at first. But it keeps happening, and they're not just vague memories. Like, I can remember specific shopping trips, like trying things on, or making decisions on what to buy.
I get what you're saying. Like, it feels like reality is shifting in real time. Like, we're experiencing micro Mandela effects constantly.
Vixen and Abaddon, I remember talking to me about some of the things. So it's fascinating and makes you wonder how many things in the future we will remember one way and we will be told that that's not at all the truth. Now, this might sound strange, but have either of you noticed these effects getting more frequent, like in the past year or two?
Yes, absolutely. It feels like it's accelerating, like there's more and more of these things happening.
To add on to that, I only started noticing maybe 6 months ago. But yeah, it seems to be happening more and more often.
There's a theory that the timeline shifts aren't just historical, they're ongoing. We're experiencing merges and reality shifts constantly, and most people just don't notice because their memories update automatically.
Ours aren't updating?
Maybe not completely. Maybe we're resistant to the changes for some reason. After all, Abaddon and Vixen mentioning the same thing of our remembering things a certain way as well. Like the heart thing we were just talking about. Vixen and Abaddon's theory was the Hadron Collider at CERN being behind it.
Okay, but that, brings up another question, is why would we be resistant to these changes?
I don't know. Like, maybe it's random. Maybe some people's consciousness are more anchored to their original timeline. Or maybe we've been paying close attention, and the attention creates a kind of resistance.
Like the observer effect in quantum physics, the act of observing changes the outcomes?
Maybe. If reality is quantum in nature, maybe our focused attention on these details is keeping them from fully shifting in our memories.
Here's something I haven't told anyone. I've been writing things down. Every day, I got this journal, and I write down specific details about my environment, things I'm certain about, colors, positions of objects, names, dates, and I check them later.
How have you, found any discrepancies when you've been writing in this journal?
A few times, yeah. Small things, but they're there. Things I write down with absolute certainty that turned out different when I checked.
That's actually brilliant. We should all be doing that.
It's like creating anchors to our original timeline, physical records that can't be changed by memory updates.
Unless the physical records changed too.
Oh God, don't say that. That's too horrifying to consider. And people that didn't realize the changes would probably just call us crazy. That's all we have time for today. I think this has been a very interesting conversation. Tonya, Diamond, thank you for being vulnerable enough to share your experiences with the podcast and people listening, with me, with the listeners and all that.
Oh, no problem at all. Really, thanks for creating a space where we can talk about this without feeling crazy, without the judgment from other people that would be like, yeah, that's not how it happened. That's not what's going on,
Yeah, exactly what Tonya said. Thanks for creating a space where we can talk about this without feeling crazy. It helps to know that we're not alone in this.
You're definitely not alone, at all. None of you are alone in this. And maybe there are thousands of people who experience the same thing, maybe millions.
Which either means we're all delusional or something genuinely strange is happening to reality.
I know which explanation I'm leaning towards. So, to everyone listening, if you're experiencing Mandela effects, if reality feels like it's shifting, if your memories don't match the world around you, you're not crazy. Write things down, compare notes with others, pay attention, because something is happening. We just don't know yet. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one more thought. If the Mandela Effect is real, if reality is changing, then how do we know it's not still changing? Right now, as you listen to this, reality could be shifting, details could be flipping, and you'd never know because your memories would update to match unless they don't. Pay attention to what you remember. Write things down, take screenshots, make notes, because if reality is fluid, if timelines are merging, if we're living in a simulation, being constantly updated, your memory might be the only proof that things were ever different. And who knows, maybe next time you remember something that everyone tells you is wrong, you'll realize you're not crazy. You're just remembering a reality that no longer exists. Or does it? That's it for this episode of Bizarre Ones. If you've experienced the Mandela Effect yourself, or if you think you remember something differently than how it apparently is, I want to hear about it. Share your experiences on, wherever you're listening to this. Until next time, question everything, especially your memories. And remember, the truth is bizarre, and the truth is stranger than fiction. I've been your host, Kai, and this has been another episode of Bizarre Ones. Thank you for listening.